Good evening, race fans, and fasten your seatbelts. This one is about to get good here on LSRTV for the final race to make the chase for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking. Good evening, iRacing fans. I'm Jacob Seelman alongside my broadcast partner here for the Full Throttle Cup Series, Evan Pasoko. Evan, it all comes down to this one last race to make the chase, and unlike what we saw Saturday night where we saw total domination, the iRacing service has got Richmond as racy as it's ever been, and this is probably going to be one of the best shows we've seen this season because there's still about 15 different guys that can win this race and qualify for the postseason, and for most of them, that's what it's going to take tonight.
Yeah, there's about 14, 15 drivers, Jacob, going for two positions. Positions 1 through 10 are locked in on wins. 11 through 14 locked in on points. Only 2 spots up for grabs. Most of those drivers only have one option at getting into this chase, and that is to take it home to victory lane.
And they are all looking for a trip to victory lane, and several of them looking for bonus points. Those who don't need to qualify for the chase still want to get bonus points to start the chase off in a better position than they've been. Right now, Evan, Eric Brundy's the #1 seed with 3 wins on the season, but a host of guys behind him with 2. They'd like to even that score before we head to Chicago next week.
Yeah, McBride, George, Cadell, Stenzel, Benefiel, and Wilson are the handful of 6 drivers that are tied with 2 wins. So much like we saw you mention on Saturday night, in this scenario, who would break a tiebreaker to join Brundy's up top to get 3 wins? Somebody's obviously going to try to break that. And I'm sure Simley, Lavera, Gonzalez, those drivers with 1 win, they wouldn't mind a couple extra bonus points by taking it to victory lane and being able to bump up there with those group of 2 wins.
And looking at this, it's certainly going to be interesting. We have got 2 seeds right now up for grabs, 15 and 16 on points. If we don't get a new winner, we know at least 1 more driver will make it on points. And right now, Jason Lester, 19 points up of that transfer spot. Dan Murray, 9 points up as it stands right now. They're the 15th and 16th seeds. Kevin Linden and Mark Bradshaw, they're the only 2 guys left who have a shot to make it on points. And they're hoping that one of these guys, 19 seed on down, Arnold, Higman, Lacrosse, etc., they're hoping those guys don't win tonight.
And I'm telling you, those 15th and 16th place positions right now are doing what they need to do. Jason Lester does have a substitute driver here tonight. E.J. O'Rourke is going to be behind the wheel of his number 92. Currently on the provisional pole is the 92. And then you have Dan Murray, who's 16th in points right now. Jacob, he's currently P2. So 15th and 16th places know what they got to do, and it looks like they're getting their night started off in the right direction as they have really nailed it there. Those are the only 2 cars in the 0.3 second range in qualifying.
Yeah, but look who's right behind them. The guy we were talking about, the #1 seed, Eric Brundy's in 3rd. He wants to tack a 4th win on, and we've seen how tight the points have been as far as some of these transfer spots. Eric Brundy's out front by triple digits in the point standings. That's all going to go away after tonight, Evan. It's all basically done, and Brundy's now, he's had a 100-plus point lead for most of this regular season, and he's not had to defend the position. Now, when we get to Chicago, he defends it.
Yeah, you can relate that to what Dale Jr. said. His vacation's going to be over for Brundy's, and not by any stretch of the imagination has his team been taking it easy. Tonight is race number 22 on the regular season. Last one before we hit the chase. He has 17 top 10 finishes in 21 starts. That's a pretty good track record for Brundy's and his crew.
Yeah, it is, and I'll tell you, a couple of the guys behind this crew, you've got Brundy's, you've got Jonathan Cadell with 2 wins this season, Scott Stenzel, Rhett McBride, a host of guys with 2 wins that are trying to break into the 3-win clan, but 10 drivers this season, Evan, they have won, and they are in the chase. That's a couple less than I thought we would see coming into this season. Less guys getting to victory lane than I expected.
And that has to do with the dominance, and we have 3 cars there with 1 win. We got 6 with 2, but I mean there have been dominant race teams. There have been race teams that have gone out there and been in contention, if not every race, for the majority of the races. Guys like Brundy's. Again, you're looking at those top 10, top 5 statistics, which can really give you an idea of how consistent these teams are. I mean, Brundy's sitting with 14 top 5s. That's nearly double what anybody else has. The closest person to him is Thomas J. George, with 9 top 5 finishes. So when we get into this chase, wins are going to be at a premium, because you get one, you're automatically going to get moved on to the next round, but you also need to be consistent if you want a shot at it as well.
Yeah, and real quickly, Brundy's with 3 wins, the #1 seed right now. Rhett McBride, Thomas J. George, Jonathan Cadell, Scott Stenzel, Adam Benefield, Justin Wilson. Seeds 2 through 7, they all have 2 wins. And that's the order based on points as of the moment. Scott Simley, CJ LeVere, Jose Gonzalez, their seeds 8, 9, and 10. They have 1 win apiece. The rest of the guys in points, Steve Gottschalk, Brandon Peterson, Brennan Mercer, Nathan Little, they are locked in on points. 14 drivers assured their spots in the chase. For Jason Lester, Dan Murray, and the rest of this field, it's gonna be a dogfight here tonight at Richmond to find out who is gonna be in and who's gonna go home.
And again, Lester and Murray, obviously, again, Jason Lester not on track. Driving his 92 is EJ O'Rourke. If O'Rourke were to win this race, that win does not count towards Lester's total, but he will get the points from that. So that's also something to keep an eye on, because we have seen Joey Jatina have a substitute driver go to victory lane for him. That win is not counted for him. So O'Rourke is running for points-wise. If he does get a win, it's obviously going to get Lester max points, but he will not get bumped up to the top of those standings there and join those guys with 1 win as well.
And we've gridded a quick look down the starting grid. The top 10 in qualifying. EJ O'Rourke on the pole in the 92. Dan Murray outside in the 55. Row 2, Eric Brundy's, Jonathan Cadell. Then the Navy Nuke, Eric Arnold. Adam Benefield starts 6th. Bobby Terrell, Thomas J. George in row 4. Rhett McBride, the 2 in 9th. And Brandon Peterson starts 10th.
Kevin Linden starting in 11th. 12th is Jamie Moore. Nathan Little, 13th. Jose Gonzalez, 14th. Scott Simley in the number 15 spot. Scott Stenzel in 16th. Garrett Atwell starting P17. Steve Gottschalk at 18th. Brendan Mercer, title sponsor on his machine, 19th. And Brian Harvey could round out the top 20.
Scott Saunders, Doug Roth, James Robinson, Sherry Ann Mills, the final 4 drivers to time in. Justin Wilson, CJ LeVere, John Abbott, Mitch Rollo, Michael Woolley, Corbin Hemstreet, Ed Williams Jr., Mark Bratcher, all not electing to take time. It's a 32-car entry field tonight, and that front row is where life gets interesting. Looks like lights going out this time on the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car. Evan, what are the keys to the race tonight?
You're going to have to survive. There's going to be beating and banging. There's going to be a couple people who leave tonight frustrated, and there's going to be a select few that walk out of here on top of the world. This is a 160-lap race. You have to pace yourself, and you have to survive to be there at the end if you want to walk away with any sort of success and complete the goal that you come into this race trying to aim for.
And that goal is a chase berth. 14 are confirmed. The final 2 will be locked in following 160 laps tonight. The Garry Mercer Trucking 160 from Richmond International Raceway, 120 miles from now. We're going to know who's on the chase grid. We're glad you're with us on LSRTV. Green flag going in the air for EJ O'Rourke. We're underway. Eric Brundy's right to the 2nd position, as it looked like the 55 of Dan Murray did not get a good start. He's side by side with the Navy Nuke, Eric Arnold, for 3rd in turn 2.
Not even up on the gas, and Eric Arnold able to get around him and clear him for position number 3. So Murray will slide back into 4th. First side-by-side battle is going to have Adam Benefield, and the 11 is Jonathan Cadell. Cadell working the outside. Benefield is clear, and out the number 1 of Thomas J. George trying to go to the inside as well. That 11 machine is going to duck down in line behind him for P8.
And it looks like we got single file very quick. I'll tell you, I wasn't expecting this, Evan, but just as I say that, we're going side by side for 5th place right now. That battle's between Adam Benefield and a special white paint scheme tonight, and Bobby Terrell, he's one of those guys that we talked about needs a win tonight.
Garrow can get it done. The Chevrolet Muscle Milk up on the outside lane. The 85 of Benefield's going to be able to get around him. The 1 machine gets a nose in there, and Thomas J. George picking up the spots here early. Terrell's going to try to slide down the line. He will, and now trouble 13 of Michael Woolley around, and a big wreck down the back straightaway as everybody tries to avoid it. Caution flag is out. and a handful of drivers are going to pile them down the back straightaway. Some of them chase hopefuls.
Scott Saunders, Justin Wilson, Steve Gottschalk, all up against the inside wall on the back straightaway. I know at least 2 of those were already guaranteed into the chase, Evan. But wow, we knew Calamity might strike early because people were going to get over-aggressive, knowing it was their last shot. There's Calamity, and we see about 5-6 cars collected in this to put us under the first caution.
And it was the 90 with a Gottschalk. Just lost it at a corner number 2. He was side-by-side with the 26 of Jose Gonzalez and lost it. And the 49 machine there, innocent victim, is going to get collected in that one. That's Scott Saunders you mentioned. And everybody else is trying to check up. That 91 really stayed in the middle of the racetrack. And again, a whole lot of cars going to pile into that one. Michael Woolley was up on the radio trying to let everybody know as soon as possible. They're spinning in front, back it down, but that's almost a blind corner coming out of there. You really don't have a lot of choice on where you're going once you commit to that corner exit. Once you get to the back straightaway, you can kind of try to move that machine a little bit to get out of harm's way, but because that was right on exit, some of those guys were kind of trapped with no escape route.
And we talk about things happening so quickly here, and this is going to be a story that we talk about all night, Evan. How quickly things happen and how quickly things can change. And for a couple of guys right now, their chase hopes for those in that wreck who needed a win take a severe beating here because, of course, the damage mark on the service, when you get in an accident like this, it's hard, if not impossible, to make the necessary repairs to even get close to being competitive.
And take a look at a Nathan Little, number 41 machine. Currently sits P31. He is 4 laps down, and he's actually disconnected with a little bit of connection issues from the sim. Jacob, he is the last car locked in on points. So Nathan Little kind of cutting it close there. He's thankful that he was able to get that locked up at last week's race, because otherwise, sitting right now at the back of the pack from something, especially something out of his control as he disconnected from the sim, would really frustrate a driver. But that is one of the factors. We don't have the mechanical gremlins. You have the internet connection. That's the thing that can come up and bite you here and is a factor in sim racing.
Yeah, it is, and as we work caution, Evan, it's something that you and I talk about consistently, the gremlins, the electrical gremlins. We see it happen here, we've seen it happen in the pro categories, the pro series and the peak antifreeze series. It'll bite you whether you're a rookie or whether you're a veteran, and just that quickly, we see a guy who, you're right, Evan, he's very lucky he was locked in last race out, otherwise he'd be in extreme jeopardy right here. So in the case of the whole situation, the 14 seed, he's in, but boy, he's got to be thankful that he had just enough points to lock it up last time out, otherwise he could have been in a world of hurt tonight.
Yeah, I mean, cutting it close, and obviously not by any sort of intention, but that's just the way it goes sometimes, and very, very lucky that he is just in on that bubble there and was the last car locked in. Also something to note, 2 of the drivers here that must win to qualify, Bobby Terrell and Michael Woolley, currently sit outside of the top 30 in points. You need to be in the top 30 to have that win count or be eligible to get bumped up to the top. Now they sit 31st and 32nd. Terrell is sitting 11 points back entering tonight, and Woolley sitting about 14 points back entering tonight from Doug Roth, who sits in 17th position. So if they're going to walk away and win this one, they also have to beat that number 43 of Doug Roth, who currently sits P17 by about 11 or 14 positions.
And we are back to green flag racing right now, Evans. We'll continue talking the chase all night, but another great restart for the 92 of E.J. O'Rourke. Dan Murray again does not get a good start. It's going to cost him another position. Adam Benefield in that white 85 tonight moves into P4 behind the Navy Duke of Eric Arnold.
A single file already inside the top 10. A challenge for position number 9 not going to be completed. The 82 of Jamie Moore trying to get a little bit on Brandon Peterson. That's actually going to be for 10th. And 78 pulls back in line, shuts the door. And again, still single file. Now we're going to go side by side for 3rd. Look at the 85 throw it down into corner number 3. He'll take position number 3. That's Adam Benefield.
Yeah, he will, and just as he was doing that behind him, Thomas J. George took the 5th spot away from Dan Murray, so Murray giving up a few valuable points here right now, but The guy on the move is Adam Benefiel in that 85 car. Special paint scheme under the lights tonight at Richmond. That white scheme, we're used to the black on the 85 of Benefiel, but that car looks very fast early, and he's actually closing on this battle for the lead.
Yeah, right now E.J. O'Rourke up at the top spot, but that 94 of Brundy's is closing in as well. It's about half a car length that separate the top two at a racetrack. We mentioned Dan Murray having a solid qualifying effort considering where he sits in this chase, and obviously only having a 9-point advantage over Kevin Linden. Has not quite been up on the wheel on the restarts, and he's right back to 6th.
Yeah, he has. Right ahead of right behind, rather, a battle for the 4th spot. Thomas J. George saw Adam Benefiel make the move on the bottom work. He's tried it now. He'll go to 4th around the Navy Nuke of Eric Arnold. Move George to 4th and drop the 31 of Arnold back to P5 as it's now a 3-car battle for the lead. Adam Benefiel has caught the 94 of Eric Brundy's, who's taking a look for the lead off turn 2.
Top 3 have pulled wide by an excess of a second from 4th on back, but Thomas J. George knocking off passes in the Snap-on Chevy. He's one of the drivers sitting with 2 wins, trying to join the 3-win category up there with Brundy's. But Brundy's continues to trail. It's a car length, now half a car length down into corner number 1. O'Rourke continuing to lead at this point. They opened up a little bit of ground on Benefiel that last time by, but the top 3 pulling away by a significant margin, now 1.3 seconds.
What did I tell you before this race, Evan? Eric Brundy's wanted to put up a few more bonus points to leave no doubt who the number 1 seed going into this chase was going to be. We've not seen him be competitive as far as a win is concerned because he hasn't had to be. He's just been consistent in the top 5. He's proven it, 100-plus point gap. And we watch Eric Brundy's right here in that 94 as Benefiel closes again. That Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion, he's been so lightning consistent all season long, Evan, and now he's wanting to prove not only can he be consistent, but he can go and get another win.
And now caution as looks like trouble. Oh, the one of Thomas J. George has been turned around by Eric Arnold. Caution flag is going to fly. Some harsh words being thrown in the direction of the 31 driver from Thomas J. George, and he looks like the one machine caught the fence or got loose and lost some time, and Eric Arnold wanted to go to the middle and slid up the racetrack a little bit down into 1 there. Jacob caught the left rear of the one machine. They were able to straighten it back out. Nobody else was involved, but Thomas J. George not too happy with the way that one went down.
No, and he's got some pretty good front-end damage to that number 1 Snap-on Chevrolet as well. Looking like a lot of our leaders going to hit pit road right here. And it looks like, yeah, the top 2 stay out, but everybody behind him, Benefiel on back coming down pit road for service, Evan. How important are tires going to be in this race tonight?
You'd have to think you don't going to anticipate that this is going to be a race with the long green flag runs, but we've seen drivers having trouble on the restart. You're going to want whatever tires you can get because you need to make passes. You can't ride around here or you're going to fall victim to circumstances. So it is still a little early in the race to see this kind of situation, but going to be interesting to see how that cycles out with, looks like a handful of drivers actually staying out. Looks like O'Rourke, Brundy's, and Bratcher on no tires, and then a couple of drivers pulling some 2-tire strategy, including Garrett Atwell, CJ Lavera, Jose Gonzalez, and more.
This is where things get really interesting because you've got the leaders with no tires, you've got 2 tires, you've got 4 tires. It's a matter of figuring out in these early laps what works and what doesn't. And for Mark Bratcher, that Zloop 46 entry, this is a very interesting race and an interesting position that he's put himself in. He's got to have a very, very strong run, and basically at this point he's got to pull something to try and get a win out here because that 46 car has not been in the places where it needs to be most of this season.
He enters tonight in the 18th seed, 16 points behind Dan Murray if he were to attempt to take that number 16 qualifying position. However, Kevin Linden is in front of him by 7 points as well. So unless somebody up there that's already qualified has some drastic issues, Bratcher not only has to win, but again, all circumstantial depending on where Kevin Linden would finish in regards to him.
Yeah, so basically what it comes down to for Bratcher is, yes, he can make it on points, but more importantly than that, he needs a win. Gearing up for a restart, Evan, and these restarts, we saw it in the Cup race on Saturday night in Richmond, one of these places where you've got to get all you can get on these restarts because you won't get too many chances when it goes single file.
No, you have to capitalize. I mean, we've seen Dan Murray not get the restarts that he's wanted, and that's cost him from being on the front row, and he's going to be restarting on row number 5. Not a comfortable position that he wants to be in, knowing the situation that he enters tonight on, the 55. You know, you got to pick up on those restarts, take advantage of them, stop falling victim to them, and maybe your night can start going in a better direction. Quick note, Kevin Linden, the 48 Lowe's Chevrolet, who sits 17th. He talked about him and Bratcher. He was 9 points behind Murray entering tonight. Kevin Linden lost about 6 spots in 3 laps on that last green flag cycle because he was stuck on the outside lane. So keep an eye on that 48. He'll be restarting P19, but you got to feel that during those laps, that 48 was feeling pretty helpless there, stuck up top. We'll have to keep an eye on him as well as the race progresses.
Yeah, front row going to be E.J. O'Rourke and Eric Brundy's right here, and this is a big race for E.J. O'Rourke, and it looks like they're going to extend this caution flag one more lap here, trying to get everybody sorted out among other things, and I think Evan trying to get Thomas George to the end of the line as well.
Yeah, he was going to be deemed the cause of the caution, and obviously had some words for Eric Arnold, so not happy is Thomas J. George. We know he has a fast machine, and drivers don't forget things at the short track. So we'll keep an eye on if those guys are paths cross later on in tonight, because you got a guy with a fast car, and now he's going to be trying to charge through this big field. That should be interesting to see how Thomas J. George gets that job done. He'll be back around 26th spot.
And how big a night is this potentially for E.J. O'Rourke, too, driving the 92 car, Jason Lester. O'Rourke trying to get Lester into the chase for the championship on points. Basically, he finishes top 13, and that car is in no matter what. But O'Rourke would like to give that car a win tonight. He's got a good shot to do it on this restart. Green flag back in the air as the 92 and the 94 fall in line. Positions 1 and 2. Bratcher in the 46 in third, and now we see the scramble for tires behind him. Dan Murray 3 wide, Jose Gonzalez up top.
And Jose slides back. That was the 59 in the middle of that. Garrett Atwell backs out of it. Now Dan Murray going to go side by side up in front of them, trying to make something work. He'll clear Brendan Mercer off of corner number 4. And that's going to put Murray up from 9th to 5th in one lap. Now Benefield through to the bottom on Brendan Mercer.
I think we're about to see exactly how good 4 tires are every single time you come down pit road. The 55 of Dan Murray, he wants to assure himself a spot in this chase. He is in the 16 seed right now, but he wants a win, and he wants it in a big way. He is closing on 4th, which is C.J. LeVere. That 55 Ollie's Toyota is on the move.
And Dan Murray's been one of the drivers that obviously has not got a win yet this season, but he has been so close so many times. Had a dominant car, and just the way it shakes out at the end has not been able to finish a race. So obviously going to be pulling here. Hopefully Dan Murray can translate all these good runs, not only into a chase berth, but maybe get some momentum moving forward into Chicago by picking up that W. He sits P5.
Battle for the lead, 94, Eric Brundy's to the inside, the Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion going to the point around the 92 of E.J. O'Rourke. It is now a 6-car freight train battle for the lead, led by the 94 of Eric Brundy's. Those 2 cars with 4 tires, Benefield and Murray, they have caught the back of this top 4, and it's a freight train down the back straightaway.
We got cars bouncing off each other for 11th on back. Brandon Peterson and Eric Arnold and Bobby Terrell all making a lot of contact. Now the 2 of Brett McBride not happy over the radio with the 59 of Garrett Atwell as they've been racing off of corner number 2. This action is picking up. They're going to go side by side for 9. McBride through and clear on the bottom. 59 does not have time to shut the door. That allows the 78 of Brandon Peterson to go to the bottom through and side by side down the back straightaway for 10.
Side by side for 5th now, and quickly Adam Benefield takes that white number 85 to the number 5 position. He gets around Dan Murray. That machine has been fast all night long, and looks like Benefield, he wants to put his name in the conversation for a tie for the number 1 seed with a 3rd win of the season. Benefield now going to the inside of C.J. LeVere for 4th. The 85 is on the move.
Benefield trying to keep on moving up. He started 6th. He sits 5th right now, trying to get around CJ Lovere. I'll tell you up front, Eric Brundy, since he's gotten to that #1 spot, has started the pull away for the 92 of EJ O'Rourke. He's got it to about 4/10 down the back in the 3.
Yeah, he has. I'm really impressed with the job Eric Brundy's has done right now as we go side by side for 4th spot. Again, Lovere trying to hold back Benefield, and I don't think it's going to work this time. Benefield with the preferred lane as they sink down into turn #1, but Lovere fighting back on that high lane there. Wheel off too.
Sideways off the corner. CJ Lovere is able to hang on to it. I was going to say he was doing a solid job of almost pinching Benefield down, but got sideways off the corner and kind of slid through 2 cars. Could have got ugly quick. He'll hang on to 6th, and now Jose Gonzalez closes in on him for that spot.
And let's clarify now, all Adam Benefield has to do is pass guys with no tires while he's got 4 tires. I think we're about to see the 85 make a serious run at the lead. He's making a run at 3rd right now inside of the Zoot 46 of Mark Bratcher. Move Benefield to P3 as they go down the front straightaway, and I'll tell you, that 85 is on the march. I've said it a couple times already, Evan. Benefield wants that 3rd win, and he is going for it.
He's about a 10th quicker as he sits 3rd than the guys P1, P2, Brundy's, and O'Rourke. However, in order to get up to that #3 position and bob and weave through traffic, he has lost 1.4 seconds. He dots 2/10 off that time by, so it's going to be 1.2 seconds from him on up to our race leader, Eric Brundy's. But Adam Benefield does have some time to make up. He wants this one to stay green for a little bit so his tires can come to him, and obviously the other guys on no tires sitting up front are going to start to come back towards him, and he can take advantage of this strategy call that him and his team made.
Battle for 4th now is the 55 machine. Dan Murray's trying to get work around the Mark Bratcher machine. Benefield knocked another 2/10 off it last time by. But Evan, I think right now I'll take my 20 bucks out of your wallet when that 85 car gets to the lead, because I'm betting right now he'll get there in about the next 5 laps or so, and when he gets there, he's just going to drive away.
Yeah, O'Rourke really starting to slide back from Brundy's, and at the stripe it was 4/10 that time, but Benefield, I mean, he's flying on the bottom lane. It's going to be a matter of fact of how much of a resistance does that 92 of EJ O'Rourke put up, or does he let the 85 go? The 92 holds on to the bottom lane through 1 and 2, 85 backs off, gets a look at the run off the corner that the tires gets him, and the 92 of O'Rourke letting him out of the lane, not wanting any sort of trouble, knowing that if he sits where he is right now, he's got no issue in letting his buddy Jason Lester, who he's subbing in for, get into the chase. So the 92 just trying to avoid conflict, hand out the window, and Benefield up a second and about half a second off.
Yeah, and it's even less than that. He's been consistently about a 1/4 of a second faster a lap than the 94 of Eric Brundy's. And look at this, Evan. For the first time tonight, we're about to be talking about lap traffic right now as the leader starting to work a couple of slower cars. That's going to play right into Adam Benefield's hands.
He got shot last car on the lead lap. That Nerf machine is absolutely destroyed up on the outside lane. Might be barely meeting the minimum speed requirements, but he's going to ride the high lane, and so far the top 3 able to get through without issue as that battle for first place continues to rage on. Benefield wants to see clean track, or if that 94 of Brundy's does get held up, the 85 can take advantage of it. Even if these lap cars are trying to get out of the way, if you catch them at a wrong time, it can bite you real quick, and that 85 is but a car length off on the bumper, and now the block by a lap car, and here we go for the lead.
And that's exactly what happened. You talked about catching him at the wrong time. The entrance of turn 3 was absolutely the wrong time, and it allows the 92 of EJ O'Rourke to rejoin this battle as well. Now to the outside goes the 94 of Brundy's, and Benefield taking a look to the inside. Was that Jonathan Cadell that they just went by?
Trying to get out of the way, and he kind of went down too low to the point where he'd have to come up to make the corner, and EJ O'Rourke, the 3rd place car in that top 3 battle, nearly got caught in the left rear by that. It was a little bit of a close call.
Yeah, it was. Cadell, like you said, barely had enough room to accomplish what he needed to accomplish, and the battle for the lead heating up in turn number 3. Benefield taking a peek to the inside of the 94 of Brundy's, and he's got the quarter panel there going down into turn 1. It looks like for lap 44 right now, we're going to have a lead change for the first time tonight, officially under green. New leader, Adam Benefield.
Yeah, the 94 braked early, stayed high, allowed that 85 of Benefield to go low, and maybe thought of a little bit of a crossover, but the 92 of O'Rourke came flying in, trying to get that number 2 spot, and both the 94 and the 92 kind of hesitated, trying to avoid incident, and with that, Benefiel has been able to go back to the point. So after starting again P6, his Toyota now up in the number 1 position, and already starting to put some time on Brundys and company.
I'll take my $20 after the race. Thank you, Evan. Benefiel, your new leader. Brundys second. E.J. O'Rourke rides third. Dan Murray fourth. C.J. LeVere completes the top 5. Then it's Mark Bratcher, Rhett McBride, Jose Gonzalez, Bobby Terrell, Brennan Mercer. The rest of your top 10. We are just past 1/4 distance tonight in the Garry Mercer 160 for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. The final race to make the chase here at Richmond International Raceway. Jacob Seelman and Evan Pisoko in the broadcast booth. And I'll tell you, Evan, the first quarter or so of this race, we've seen a little bit of action, a little bit of Dyson for the lead, and now all of a sudden we're seeing what 4 tires versus no tires can do out on this very abrasive Richmond surface.
Yeah, the 4 tires obviously paying due dividends, but this has been a solid green flag run since these guys came down to pit for service. Race leader Adam Benefiel, last time he was on pit road there, again, lap 19 under the caution flag period. So a solid green flag run that these guys are putting in. Obviously, over the longer stretches, those 4 tires are going to really come in. He has nearly a second over Eric Brundys on back, but I don't think this is going to deter people when it comes down to the end there, Jake, when people get desperate of trying to just make it on those 2-lap shootouts on no tires. I don't really think this 4-tire dominance on the long run is really going to sway anybody's opinion, because it's still, I mean, the guys are going to be going for it here at the end of the race, but so far, it's been proven that on the long run, you want those 4 tires.
Absolutely. Right now, we are seeing lap 50 being worked right now, so when they come back to the stripe, we'll have 50 of 160 laps complete. As the caution comes out, wow, right in front of the race leaders going into turn number 3, Evan. That could easily, we talk about disaster, that could have easily been disaster.
Yeah, that's the 59 of Garrett Atwell, and I mean, even though our leaders had a chance to slow down for that, it still could have got bad. 59 got sideways off the corner. Actually did a really good job, if we get that replay up, of kind of staying on the gas a little bit and actually kept it off the inside wall, spin back up, and just nicked the outside retaining wall. He kind of put the nose into it to try to get everybody a little bit more room, but despite the spin, a solid piece of driving by Atwell to keep that thing out of the fence. Could have been a lot worse on his end.
Yeah, it could have been, and I want to clarify, as it looks like the entirety of the lead lap this time is coming down pit road for tires and fuel. Here at lap number 51, Garrett Atwell not one of the drivers who had a shot to make the chase by winning the race tonight, so he had only made 5 starts of recent, Evan, but he's been doing a solid job, almost looking like maybe he could be prepping himself for a full RSR run maybe next season.
And his teammate also, Scott Saunders, had some trouble there. The Rue Motorsports teammates, Saunders caught up in an earlier incident, has since left the sim. He'll finish P30, and talked to Garrett before the race, and him and Scott running a part-time schedule here on Monday night, so unsure of their plans for the future moving forward. But in this season's regards, obviously no chance at a championship, but going to be making as many starts as possible, him and his teammate there, and solid competitors, but obviously tonight not going their way here early. Both cars involved in incidents, only one of them left in competition.
Do I smell some strategy here, Evan? We've seen it played by this car a couple of times. The Meatball Mobile, Jose Gonzalez, looks to be the new leader.
2 tires? That's not surprising from that 26. I think we've seen that a couple times before this year, Jacob.
About 4 or 5 that I can think of right offhand. They like trying to steal wins on 2 tires.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen times where he's tried to stretch a race by an entirely less amount of pit stops than everybody else. Jose's not afraid of a little bit of strategy. He's locked in right now. He's the 10th seed with 1 win. He'll take a little bit of a gamble here and try to bump himself up to that 2-win category.
Sure, why not? It's bonus points. 3 points for every win you get. And, you know, we see it a couple of times, though. The thing here, We're talking about it, Evan, as we're hearing Jose say over the radio, maybe a black flag coming down against that 26. So we'll follow up on that in a second. But, you know, talking about the bonus points that these guys could get for a win, how important every position, every point, every bonus point is going to be in these final 10 races, because you don't get a chance to make up a mistake. You have one mistake and very potentially you could be immediately out of this championship run. It's going to take about 10 perfect races to win the RSR title.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Jose stay out in prior times, not pit with everybody else, gets a bonus point for leading a lap, then comes through. So that could also be a little bit of a strategy call that some of these other guys that, I mean, really need every point. Guys like Linden, Bradger, Murray, and obviously EJ O'Rourke subbing in for Lester. You may see them take that little bit of a gamble here earlier on in the race, because obviously you're going to get cycled back towards the rear of the field. But if you're going to make that decision at some point, maybe do it now so they don't get that bonus point. Garrett Atwell not satisfied with race control, and he is disconnected from the race along with his teammate, not happy with the way the black flag was assessed, and he did not get his wave around after staying out coming down pit road. So though the Root Motorsports teammates that we just talked about, both of them behind the wall, their nights are done.
And that's a tough break for Garrett Atwell as well as Scott Saunders. So we see them both retire from this event, and now we're doubled up as the Ford First Mustang pace car hits pit road, and we're back under green flag racing, and the 26 of Jose Gonzalez gets a fantastic restart as Benefiel looks to the inside going into turn one. That's not going to work. They were trying to go 2 or 3 wide, but here comes Benefiel. That's the battle for the lead.
Jose is able to hang tough. The outside, and look at the 85, Jose Gonzalez, he has that black flag. Tough break, he has to go to the apron. Again, another driver locked in on wins, so just escapes that narrowly. A lot of drivers having some bad luck. Those provisionals and being locked in before tonight's race are really saving a lot of guys. Tough break for Jose Gonzalez.
Yeah, very tough break, and I'll tell you, that was almost disastrous for Adam Benefiel, because he had to almost check up right there to avoid running square into the back of the 26. So, and we're hearing over the radio now, Evan, that they did clear the black flag on the 26, so not sure why he came down for service. We'll have to try and follow that up a little bit later on in the race.
Yeah, right now, looking at the commands from race control, and before down to the yellow, Jose Gonzalez did have black flags cleared. He was saying that it was a passing under yellow penalty, so it wasn't one where even though they cleared it, he would still be assessed with an EOL penalty. It does appear, though, by all accounts here on the chat, that race control did clear the black flag of Jose Gonzalez. However, we did clearly see him come down pit road and take that down, and he's lost his lap. He's gone from 1st to 25th over that.
Tough break for the 26, the meatball mobile of Jose Gonzalez, but a great break for Adam Benefiel as he goes back to the race lead. And how about a call to the super sub, EJ O'Rourke, who we've seen in a substitute role a couple of times this year, Evan, running second right now, doing exactly what he needs to do to get his partner in crime, Jason Lester, into the chase for the RSR Championship, doing a brilliant job in that Garry Mercer trucking number 92 tonight. Basically just sitting exactly where he needs to sit.
Yeah, we had trouble back to the pack about a lap ago. Brennan Mercer knocking on the door for a top 10 position. Got about 30 degrees sideways off the corner. He was able to hang on to it, but has since lost a significant amount of positions. He cycled back to about 19th. 31 of Eric Arnold also loose, and the guy that's letting everybody know who's sideways is the 78 of Brandon Peterson, so it looks like everybody around him is nearly wrecking off the corner. So Peterson seems to be kind of trapped here in that mid-pack position as he sits 10th, having all the chaos going on around him.
If I were Brandon Peterson, I would find me a bag of popcorn under the next caution and enjoy the show, because he certainly had it around that Furniture Row 78 Chevrolet.
Yeah, we talked to Brendan Mercer before the race. He's locked in on wins, and he was one of the guys we were talking about that was 30 degrees off the corner. He said he may have a little bit of popcorn there, and he'll be watching the show unfold in front of him, because not only is it entertaining for us, it's entertaining for the drivers that are locked in, not so much the ones that are battling for the spots.
Yeah, and you know, we look at the guys who are locked in right now, and really we see most of the top 10 right now. Benefiel's locked in, Lester, O'Rourke, we'll call it the 92 car, is not locked in, but running right where he needs to be right now. Brundys is locked in, LeVere locked in, Murray trying to run his way in on points and taking the 4th spot away from CJ LeVere. Thomas J. George locked in, McBride is in, Simley, Peterson, Terrell back. Oh boy!
Jamie Moore around, caution flag is going to fly. And I was just about to say that Thomas J. George is back up to 6th. So at some point he must have passed Eric Arnold. So I took a look back to Eric Arnold. Obviously Arnold and George having contact earlier. And just as I did that, looks like the 31 pretty much just ducked that 82. That's not what the 31's saying over the radio, but it looks like he just got in there a little bit hot and gave him that old nudge to the left rear and ushered him around into the corner. Caution flag back out.
See what happens every time I start trying to talk about the chase, Evan? Something happens, and what's happening right now is we'll talk about the chase more in a little bit after we get done with this round of pit stops, because Adam Benefiel is leading the entire freight train down on the pit road again for service. That white 85, I can't get used to that white. It's such a neat looking car tonight, but so different from what we always see Benefiel in, and figure we'll probably see 4 tires here for most of the leaders, because we went on another about 15 to 20 lap stint here, and Benefiel in, right side's going up on that number 85 Toyota, service done there, and left side's going up, so it is going to be 4 tires and Sunoco fuel.
And he's going to get beat off by a lot of company. The 14 of Jose Gonzalez beats him out of pit road. The 14 machine, another 2-tire, actually that's Bobby Terrell, the 14, sorry, with a 2-tire call. The Muscle Milk Chevy's going to beat him out, and then also the number 4 machine of CJ LeVere, the play seat machine, going to be leaving early as well. Another 2-tire stop for him.
And I'm thinking that those 2 are not the only 2 that took 2 tires. 8.4 seconds for the Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion of Eric Brundys, who beats both of those guys off pit road, and it looks like, may need to get a confirmation on this, but James Robinson assumes the race lead in car number 7. Not sure if I saw him come down pit road or not.
He has just come over the radio and announced that he is going to be coming down pit road. He actually, he stayed out, he has some damage, and he's been talking with the people behind him and actually says he's going to come down pit road so that some of the people behind him can get some wave bys, and he has assessed that he will be a hazard up at the front of the field with the damage that he's working. So he has come down pit road, but a lot of drivers not really too happy at the moment. Again, Eric Arnold, that would be the 2nd time that he has gotten into somebody. The first time he got away with it. This time, John Abbott, race control, going to assess the end of the longest line penalty to him. But Eric's still pleading his case that he did not make contact. It definitely looked like it on the replay, but drivers not happy with him. Jamie Moore trying to put in a word that he wants to see that 31 machine parked. So the tempers starting to flare up here as we approach the halfway point at Richmond.
Of course they are, Evan. It's Richmond. It's a short track. What do you expect? It's just like Bristol. We're going to see tempers, and it's the last race to make the chase. We're going to see drama. We're going to see tempers because some of these guys are seeing their championship chances slip away. That's important here.
Definitely, and we've known this since the start of the season, and when RSR announced that we're going to be running obviously the same chase style format, the qualifications for the chase similar to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, been kind of a little bit relaxed the last few weeks. It's been building up, and then all the chase seedings comes out, and tonight there's no what ifs. You know what you got to do, and you got to get the job done.
Yeah, you do. And can we talk about somebody really quick before we go green that I'm shocked is in this position because he's run so well all season? Matt Lacrosse is one of the guys who needs to win or he's out of the chase. I never expected that at the start of this season.
Yeah, Matt Lacrosse, a solid driver, almost a similar situation as Dan Rory, just hasn't been able to get victory lane, but hasn't had the finishes either. Green flag flies, Eric Brundys off and away, and going to be side-by-side for second. It's Bobby Terrell trying to take it from CJ LeVere.
Yeah, Terrell in that muscle milk machine, he needs to win tonight as well, and this is the closest he's been to the lead so far tonight. The Garry Mercer 92 of O'Rourke behind him, but Terrell's got the preferred lane and going to bring O'Rourke with him. He moves to second. O'Rourke going for third on LeVere off 4.
Door to door, a little bit of a wiggle. That 4 machine all the way up to the fence and now down into 1. The 92 going to try to throw it in there. He has a nose. Can he get clear of the 4 of LeVere? Yes, he does at a corner number 2. Will the 4 slide back in line? He'll try to get in between him. Yes, he does. And he'll pull right in front and almost get on the back bumper as he was trying to squeeze in between the 92 and the 1 of Thomas J. George.
Yeah, and that's a squeeze that I don't know that you want to make. Thomas J. George back up to the number 5 spot. Didn't see that one coming after as much front-end damage as that one had from his earlier excursion tonight. But meanwhile, Eric Brundys is pulled out to a 1-second lead as we come to complete lap number 74, Evan. That 94 machine, I told you he wanted to win, and he is driving away as the 92 of O'Rourke goes to second around Bobby Terrell.
Adam Benefiel also going to pick up a spot from Thomas J. George, who's sideways off the corner. He'll hang on to it. And now caution, trouble behind them. Yellow flag is going to fly. Trying to get a number on that. It looks like...
I think it was Jamie Moore again. Jamie Moore for the second straight yellow. And that is basically going to... This is ultimately, Evan, going to take us right to the halfway point as Jamie Moore going around behind a mad scramble that you were watching over there in turn 2.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers just not happy over the radio. Even guys that are sitting top 5. I mean, we got a little bit of a, and obviously can't hear it on the broadcast, but we have some drivers with heated tempers. The 85 of Adam Benefiel has to come down pit road. He's got damage. He is very upset, and him and CJ LeVere going at it over the radio because as soon as the caution came out, the 85 is pleading that, and it looks like if we can get a replay, lap 75 off the corner, it looks like LeVere gets to the gets on the brakes to make up for that yellow, and 85 was right on him, slammed into him, and a lot of distaste between those drivers. Benefiel is obviously irate because his machine may be out of a winning contention with that front end damage.
Yeah, we're looking at the replay right now, and the contact, that is very significant contact to that 85 of Benefiel. And, you know, we talk about on the iRacing service, Evan, it does not take much. You get just a little bit of contact, and you could potentially be a tenth, 2 tenths off. You get contact like what Benefiel just got to that front end, you're done as far as any shot to win this race.
Yeah, this racetrack is not as sensitive as a Talladega, aero-wise, but it's not as forgiving as an Eldora. You can't be bouncing off the walls and expect to be able to run up front. Very limited threshold, and I mean, you can see right now as that 85 works around under the yellow. So strong tonight. He was making passes, and understandably so, very, very upset over that. He's back at about 21st position as they run right now. CJ LeVere obviously has back-end damage from that as well. LeVere has not come down the pit lane. He continues to ride around in position number 4 as we get set to take maybe a 2 to go this time by. So it looks like we may restart right at that halfway point.
Yeah, I think we will complete lap number 80. We'll get the cross flags on the restart, if my math is correct here, and Thomas J. George actually just confirmed that for us. We will get the green flag with 80 of 160 laps complete, so hey, why not? Let's take a look at the Garry Mercer Trucking mid-race leaderboard. Eric Brundys, your leader. E.J. O'Rourke, second. Bobby Terrell needs a win. He's third. C.J. LeVere, fourth. Rhett McBride up to fifth. Dan Murray, sixth. Mitch Rollo, seventh. Thomas J. George in eighth. Scott Simley and Doug Roth round out the top 10.
Scott Stenzel up to P11, Mark Bratcher in 12th, Brendan Peterson 13th, Corbin Hemstreet position number 14, James Robinson, the number 7 machine in 15th, Kevin Linden 16th, Brendan Mercer in the number 17 spot, 18th belongs to Eric Arnold, Sherry Ann Mills position number 19, and Adam Benefiel rounds out the top 20.
Brian Harvey, 21st, Michael Woolley, 22nd, Jamie Moore, 23rd, Jose Gonzalez, 24th, and Ed Williams Jr. back on the lead lap. He rides 25th. 26th, 3 laps down, Steve Gottschalk. Nathan Little, 7 laps down in 27th. The rest of these cars out of the race. Jonathan Cadell, Garrett Atwell, Scott Saunders, Justin Wilson. That's a look at your Garry Mercer Trucking mid-race leaderboard, as this time by we'll be doubling them up, coming to green with 80 laps complete.
Down the backstretch, lights are off on the pace car, and I just had the ability to take a look at Adam Benefiel's onboard on that incident, and Understandably so, why the 85 is not happy. He's in 20th. He's going to roll with the punches he's got to work with. And as the pace car gets set to dive down to pit road, we get set for a halfway point restart.
Yeah, we do. Here we go. Eric Grundy's gets the jump on the restart. We're back to green flag racing, and the battle's going to be for second between the 92 and the 14. E.J. O'Rourke going to pull down right in front of the 14 of Bobby Terrell, who's side by side for third. C.J. LeVere slots into fourth. The first battle for fifth between Dan Murray and a newcomer to the top 10 tonight, Mitch Rollo.
LeVere does the crossover off of 2. He's now on the inside of Terrell for position number 3 off the corner. It's a nose advantage to C.J. LeVere. He'll have the inside lane down into corner number 1. He clears the 14, and now the 55 of Dan Murray tried to sneak in line and kind of got cut off as Terrell dived in behind the 4, and now trouble with the 4 of LeVere. Sideways off the corner. The 14's going to go high, way high, overdrives that corner, going to lose at least 2 spots. Dan Murray, Red McBride, going to get through and clear off of 4.
Yeah, and Rollo's coming with him. Bobby Terrell slots into 6th right now. Rollo wanted to make that move, but they're side by side behind him. Looks like Thomas J. George and Scott Simley, Evan, are going at it. They're down the back straightaway. That's a battle for 8th place.
Yeah, 68 is Simley on the inside lane, trying to get around the 96 machine on the outside. That is Mitch Rollo, the Jag Chevrolet of Mitch Rollo sitting right now. P8 has that spot at the line after starting back in 28th position. Has made up a significant amount of spots, and now off of corner number 2, 68 will get through, not quite clear. 96 drives it back in hard, down into 3. The 68 really had to get on the brakes there, and they'll remain side by side still for that number 8 spot. Advantages to Simley, and he'll finally get cleared down into 1.
How about Scott Stenzel peeking up into the number 10 position right now? We've not talked a whole lot about the number 42, who is coming off Labor Day weekend, making a start with the Mittler brothers in the Camping World Truck Series up in Canada. Did a very respectable job in that truck, and right now rides in the number 10 spot, a 2-time winner on the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series this season, and he's doing what he needs to do. He's already in the chase. He's not trying to tear up any equipment or really make any waves, just running a solid race, trying to get some notes here in this final race before the chase. What we're keeping an eye on right now is who's going to win it, and right now Eric Grundy's looking like a mighty safe bet to grab his 4th win of the season. You know, we saw Brad Keselowski go to 4 wins on the year Saturday night in Richmond, and Eric Grundy's trying to duplicate that feat in a similarly painted Penske-style Ford.
He's got 3/10 over E.J. O'Rourke. We were talking about Scott Stenzel. Stenzel is not a stranger to victory lane. He got the season's first win back at Daytona, has since been there one more time. He's got a shot at making it a 3rd win as he sits 10th. He talked about his Camping World Truck Series start. Unfortunately, had some mechanical issues in that race, but he's actually trying to make up another spot to the inside of Mitch Rollo is that 42 yellow stripe Chevrolet.
Yeah, Stenzel's been a very strong competitor, and I expect him to be a great competitor in this chase for the championship. You know, we look at this chase grid, Evan, and however these last 2 spots shake out tonight for the 14 guys that are already locked in to the chase grid, boy, it just encompasses about everything that we've possibly seen all season long right here as far as the competitors. These guys know that they've been the ones to beat all season long, and now they've got to go out and prove it for 10 more races.
And again, it's the different chase style. It's not 10 races and everybody's going to be reset. You got 10 races to duke it out. It's going to be in 3 race increments down till we only have 4 cars left standing. Best person who finishes Homestead Miami Speedway on top takes home the championship. It's a totally different animal, and you can anticipate it, you can prepare for this, but nothing will get you totally ready until you're put in that spot starting next week in Chicago.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Chicagoland going to be a big key. We're going to be looking at who the guys are that have been strong on 1.5 miles, Evan. And I can't help but think about this right now as we go on board with the number 48 machine right here. We've talked about this. Eric Grundy's the only driver that's been strong on just about every track style all season long.
Dominant. Again, sometimes there's the, and you see the 92 of O'Rourke is putting up a great battle. EJ started on pole position, subbing in for Jason Lester, but I mean, just in general, again, I talked about those stats. He has only finished 4 races to this point outside the top 10, and we've gone to some short tracks, we've gone to some plate tracks, so to be able to only have 4 finishes outside the top 10 in 21 starts, you gotta be pretty dang fast.
Yeah, you do, and he's got the win numbers to back it up, and he's been dominant in this race so far. He's been the guy to beat. Who do you like? Is there anybody that can stop him tonight?
The only cars that we have seen hang with him is E.J. O'Rourke, and obviously the 92 was able to start on pole position, sliding back a little bit this lap through 1 and 2, but I don't think it can count out a Rhett McBride or a Dan Murray again. I'm pulling for that 55 of Dan. We talked to him a couple of times when he would finish second or third, and he'd be up there in contention, but hasn't been able to put it all together. He rides around in a comfortable spot right now, P4. Not the fastest car on track. It's a short track. It comes down to those late race restarts. I'm pulling for Dan Murray. Keep an eye on Rhett McBride and E.J. O'Rourke as well.
Yeah, and look at Rhett. Where's Rhett McBride come from? Up to third all of a sudden. That car's been quietly consistent all night despite being 1.9 seconds behind the race leaders, and he's showing equal pace to Eric Brundys. We get a caution, and that Silver Deuce tonight, he could be a contender in this, Evan. You're right. I wouldn't count out McBride trying to take it to Brundys, and he's second in the point standings, too.
Yeah, his GT Omega Toyota Camry right now, again, sits position number 3. He is working a little bit of rear end damage, not that severe, but just something to keep an eye on when you match him up against the clean race cars, the fast race cars of Brundys and O'Rourke. And that battle up front that was down to 0.2 of a second is back up to half a second plus, as Brundys starting to pull back away. Maybe the 92 used some of his stuff up trying to get to him. He lost 0.3 that last lap. E.J. O'Rourke slipping off the pace of Brundys real fast here.
Yeah, he is. As Brundys starts to stretch out the lead, we are getting ready to complete 99 of 160 laps, so rapidly working on the conclusion of this race. Here's a look at how the top 10 stack up as we work lap number 100. Eric Brundys, your race leader by about 8 car lengths over E.J. O'Rourke, 3/4 of a second the official margin. Rhett McBride in 3rd, Dan Murray 4th, Thomas J. George in 5th, Bobby Terrell in 6th, Scott Simley rides 7th, C.J. LeVere 8th, Mitch Rollo 9th, and Scott Stenzel 10th. We have 60 laps to go, 100 complete. We're going to step aside for some business. We'll be back for the conclusion, though. This is one last race to make the RSR chase from Richmond International Raceway. This is LSRTV.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks and terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back. We are just finishing up a caution flag here that came out at lap 105 and getting ready to go back to green as well, but you'll see the replay first really quickly. Another mulligan used up for Nathan Littleven as he basically got dumped by the 7 there coming to that last caution.
Yeah, nothing intentional on that one, I don't think, but he's already 8 laps down, and again, the last driver, the lowest seed, P14 in the championship in the chase, entering tonight, last car locked in. I'm sure he's counting his blessings there on every single position he's gotten these last few weeks, because if he was on the border, this night would be going the wrong direction as he sits 27.
Yeah, it would have been, and we're back to green flag in the meantime. Nothing changing up front other than Brennan Mercer stayed out to try and get a bonus point.
Oh, the 55!
Oh, Dan Murray around sideways. Does he save it? Yeah!
Oh. Overcorrected, and the caution is going to fly. And I think that's going to come down to that 2 machine tried to jump down in line, Rhett McBride. And when he did so, checked up Dan Murray. Dan Murray, obviously in front of the 42 of Scott Stenzel, didn't have quite enough time to get on the binders for him, and the 55 overcorrects it. Does keep it out of the fence. Nobody else did get any significant contact, but we do go quickly back under the caution flag period.
Yeah, we do. I think the 5th caution of this race, we thought we'd have a lot more here, working lap 114, but I'm looking at this Ollie's Bargain Outlet Toyota of Dan Murray right here, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage, if much of anything at all, to that number 55 machine, Evan. I think he might be okay, and he needs to be okay. He's got to have a strong finish tonight. This puts it puts his chase hopes in serious jeopardy.
Yeah, Kevin Linden is entering tonight. It's a 9-point differential. Linden actually coming down pit road. So does Murray. So it looks like as they enter pit road, they're going to be separated by about 4 positions. So that would make the point gap that Linden has to make up at about 5 points. And obviously, Dan Murray's been faster than Kevin Linden tonight. But they're going to be in the middle of a pack here, Jacob. Short track racing, under the lights, last race of the season with a championship run on the line. And they're going to be behind all of those guys going wild there in the middle of the pack. That's where things can turn ugly real quick.
Yeah, it really can. And see, that's what's going to make the difference right here. As we've got now less than 50 laps to go. It's crunch time, Evan. And I think we saw a lack of caution through the middle stretch of this race. I think we're about to see the yellow fever pick back up one more time.
I think that's a fair thing to say. And it's something that we talked about under the commercial break is a lot of the drivers that I talked to before the race, they were expecting one of those races, a race where they were having trouble getting a solid green flag run, and we've had at least 2 solid big green flag runs, not quite to the point of green flag pit stops, but to the point where it has brought the tire strategy well into play. Now that it gets down to under 50 to go, we're going to be closing in on 40 to go by the time we get to this next restart, maybe 43, 42 to go. It's gloves off at this point.
Yeah, take the gloves off and get ready to go to war, because this one is gonna get good before it's over. Right now, working lap 117, so 44 laps to go as of the moment. Looks like Scott Stenzel going to be given an end of the longest line penalty. Evan, trying to figure out what that's for. I didn't think unless he was the one that got into the 55 of Dan Murray.
Well, we got a couple drivers. Scott Stenzel, 42, is going to get blamed for the incident, and I don't think it's at fault of his own because he really didn't have any time to react. Everybody checked up in front of him, but Scott Stenzel was not happy, and he went up next to Rhett McBride. And kind of revved the engine a little bit, and Rhett McBride came back very aggressively over the radio, so short track racing continues here. We can add another 2 cars that have had a little bit of a dispute here to the list.
Yeah, the only driver that ever goes home happy at the end of a short track race is the race winner. We've talked about that many times here on RSR, haven't we, Evan?
Yeah, the short track races. Everybody else is going to walk away pretty ticked off, except for the guy that gets that checker flag.
Now, this is where life gets interesting, because you've got Brundys, O'Rourke in for Jason Lester, Taz J. George, Bobby Terrell, your front 4. You've got the 55 trying to make the chase in the back of the field. Green flag in the air. Great start for Eric Brundys. E.J. O'Rourke falling into second, and Bobby Terrell trying to take third on the outside down into turn number 1, and I think he'll have the lane to do it around Thomas J. George.
Yeah, one tried to throw it in and was unable to get it done. He'll slide back in line. They'll remain single file side by side for P6. The 69 of Corbin Hipstreet to the bottom through and around Eric Arnold. Brandon Peterson has got around him as well. Arnold's going to hold the nose at the door of the 69 of Hipstreet. That will be the battle for 7th. And now trouble with the 7 of James Robinson. Oh, big wreck in 1 and 2. Caution flag is going to fly. Looks like a couple cars out into the retaining wall. And not the first time tonight, it's the 82 that gets dumped into the fence.
I believe that's, what, his 3rd caution of the night, Evan?
Yeah, he's not all of them the fault of his own. He did have a cell spin off of 2, but looks like the 4 of Lavere just got in there too hot, sent him sideways. The 46 machine of Mark Bratcher is the chase hopeful, 18th position, 16 points out of Dan Murray, is collected in that incident, and a couple other machines going to pick up damage as well, but that might be all but the nail in the coffin for Bratcher's hopes.
Yeah, and Bratcher needed a win, and I don't think, as we see a couple of guys fake out down pit road, so no takers under this caution flag, but at this point, I don't see anybody that's going to be able to win and get into this chase, because I don't think anybody except E.J. O'Rourke can take it to Eric Brundys tonight. And even at this point, I don't think the 92 has anything left for that 94. Eric Brundys has been the class of the field tonight. He's led the most laps. We're inside of 40 laps to go, so it's the final quarter of this race. And I'll tell you, 4th quarter closings, that's Eric Brundys' style. It's how he's won 3 times this season. It's how he's gotten 17 top 10 finishes. And I think it may be how he seals his 4th win of 2014 here tonight in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. That car looking about as good as Brad Keselowski's did at Richmond on Saturday night.
Jamie Moore's night is going to come to a premature end after you mentioned about the 3rd time. I know he got turned by Eric Arnold at some point and gave a little bit of a mouthful to him over the radio, and had a self-spin at a 2, and now again getting collected, or being dumped, I guess we could say. No intention on CJ Lavere's end, but evidently did get turned by him. And Jamie Moore once again reminding everybody that the brake is on the left-hand side, and he is climbing out. A tough night, and not one of the chase hopefuls, not one of the drivers that had a shot at qualifying, and Too little, too late, too much for him, and the 82 is going to bring it behind the wall. Jamie Moore is going to call it a night.
Yeah, so Moore goes out of this race, and that leaves a slightly smaller handful of drivers to remain. And now we're looking at this. It is literally crunch time, and you figure 5-lap cautions at this point. And we're getting down to it, Evan. Before too long, we're going to be talking about a caution flag that could potentially end this race, because no green-white checker rule in place for RSR. What you got is what you got, and I can't help but think that that may be what it comes down to. Get all you can get on a restart and pray for a caution, and unless you're Eric Brundys, who's just had the best car of everybody tonight, because this is exactly what we feared it would be here in the early stages. It settled down into green flag runs for the middle part of the race, but that end, the yellow fever, it's coming back because everybody's scrapping for every position they can get. They know this is it.
Yeah, you can pretty much call a spade a spade. We're done seeing the green flag runs. It's time to go out there. You're going to see the chrome horn. They're going to use whatever they want to. But again, you can't just move somebody to get a spot, because per RSR rules, they're going to get sent to the end of the longest line. So you got to be careful on how you approach this. And this is one of the situations that you don't want to be put in as race control, but they're going to have to make some tough calls from here moving forward that could impact this championship.
Oh, do we want to think about that right now? The only thing that would impact this championship is if somebody dumps Eric Brundys to win the race. And with as fast as that 94 has been, what are the odds of that?
You said the only guy that can stick with him is E.J. O'Rourke. He's going to be starting P2, and we're going to get set for a restart. Jacob, 35 laps to go at the start-finish line.
I've had the most fun, I think, of the entire year right now on Monday nights calling RSR, and we're going to do it one more time. Green flag back in the air, 35 laps to go here in Richmond for the Garry Mercer Trucking 160, and just like he's done all night long, Eric Brundys to the point by 3 car lengths over E.J. O'Rourke, who's trying to get Jason Lester into this chase for the championship.
Trouble down the back straightaway, the 46 machine, and we said that the last caution may be all but the nail in the coffin, and Mark Bratcher going to bring out a yellow as he cuts down on the 85 of Adam Benefield, gets sideways, and caution is going to fly for the Z-Loop Toyota, and again back under yellow, and Bratcher going to go all the way back to 24th, and I think the frustration starting to set in there. The 46 camp is well outside of where they need to be running if they want any sort of shot at this, as he brings us back under yellow flag conditions.
I should have kept my mouth shut. Of course, as soon as I said there was going to be another caution, they found a way for there to be another caution.
And this is the way it's going to be. It's going to be 2-lap, 3-lap, maybe 4 or 5-lap sprints.
Was that even a full lap?
I think that I'm being a little bit generous. Once we get down to 5 to go, you're going to be riding out those yellow flags, which the way the green flag run has fallen, we've had a couple yellows here as a buffer to separate these late stages immediately from a green flag run. If we saw a green flag run all the way down to 15 to go, that's when it would get real. That's when you would see guys on no tires up against guys with 4 tires going at it for 2-lap sprints at a time. We've had a little bit of a buffer, so you really don't have the situation that I don't expect many people to be coming down pit road from this time forward. So you really don't have the situations that we saw earlier, Jacob, where there's the guys up front on no tires, because the 2-tire strategy we saw work for what, maybe 2-3 laps. Then the 4 tires started to kick in, the 4 tires set sail. So that could have been a possibility if you were going to make that on, say, a short run. But I think with all these yellows going to be being stacked up back to back here at the end, you got to work with what you got from here on out.
Yeah, you do, and I think what everybody's got is second in class, because we saw it Friday night, we saw it Saturday night, where one car was just head and shoulders above everybody else. And it's not for a lack of passing, Evan. We've seen passing all over this racetrack tonight. Eric Brundys has just been that good. It's been almost a performance worthy of a Kyle Busch, or like the real comparison we've been drawing tonight, Brad Keselowski, although that's about as much because his car is themed off the Penske scheme of Keselowski's teammate Joey Logano as it is anything else, but Brundys has just been that kind of consistent and that kind of better compared to the rest of the field tonight.
Well, Thomas J. George is putting his vote in for virtual fistfight update coming up on Season 4 with iRacing, but Mark Bratcher just now given a EOL by race control for causing the caution. It did appear pretty evident that he kind of came down on the 85 of Benefield, but in short track racing, everybody always sees things differently, and evidently he's not happy with Adam Benefield on that one.
Shocking. It's a short track race. I told you earlier, Evan, the only driver that's going to be happy at the end of this race is the one who wins it, and unless E.J. O'Rourke finds a way to move Eric Brundys, it's gonna be the driver of the 94. I'm not even gonna do anything at this point except call a spade a spade. Brundys is the best car. He's got the advantage. Unless somebody dumps him, he's gonna win this race. And the interesting thing now is we're only gonna have 29 laps to go to figure it out.
Yep, lights back off for the pace car. We get set for another late race restart. Brundys, O'Rourke still the front row. Terrell McBride make up row number 2 down the back straightaway, and now to corner number 3. We get set to go at it once again. Watch O'Rourke on that restart because he's been trying to time it with that 94. These last few times he's been doing it pretty solid.
We'll watch Bobby Terrell, too. He's in a win and get in situation. One car loose on the restart. I think that might have been the 69 of Corbin Hemstreet as they're going 2 wide, maybe 3 wide down into turn number 1. Bobby Terrell slots into 3rd. Behind, again, E.J. O'Rourke and Eric Brundys, who pulls this field by 3 car lengths.
Eric Arnold, one of the drivers that needs a win to advance, has been black flagged. The race officials just cleared that. That was the 69 of Hemstreet. Got loose on a restart and ended up in the fence. He was able to kind of keep it off there, avoid any significant damage. Everybody else was able to get around him, and he settles back into P10.
Oh boy, so that was interesting. But it circles out about exactly like we expected. The best battle on the racetrack right now between the Doug Roth machine. That's back about 7th place between Roth, Brandon Peterson in the Furniture Row Chevrolet, and Eric Arnold, the Navy Nuke, 6th, 7th, and 8th. They run right there. Roth just worked around Peterson for that 7th spot, but that's really about the only battling on the racetrack, and even at that, they're now single file all the way back through the top 10, where Mitch Rollo in the 96 sits.
Yeah, the 68 of Simley trying to get something going. The 26 of Jose Gonzalez through and clear for P11. And now caution, more trouble on the racetrack. Oh, a couple cars in the fence. Brennan Mercer up into the outside wall. Looks like the 66 of Brian Harvey as well. And oh, it started the 42 of Stenzel. Was sideways. He collected those guys, and that starts at a corner number 4. 42 got sideways, and he overcorrected all up in front of the field. That one was not pretty, and again, the 46 of Bratcher involved.
And Bratcher's done this time. That car is junk, and the 46 just took it behind the wall. Bratcher has disconnected from the server. I can't help but laugh, and Scott Stenzel just let some words fly over the radio. He was not impressed with that, and immediately apologized to Brian Harvey in the 66, taking responsibility for that. But wow, that was a nightmare, and that ends the championship hopes for Mark Bratcher. And really, at this point, there were a couple guys in that could have won and got in, none of them whom looked anywhere near strong enough to try and steal this. But just a tough break, and about 6 or 8 cars there, including Brendan Mercer, who's one of those guys that was just barely locked into this chase, involved. So we're seeing this right now. It can happen to anybody, and it's not over just yet, especially you get somebody dive bombing into turn 1 on a restart. Nobody is safe.
Not sure if we can get a replay up or on board with that number 13 of Michael Woolley, who saw that whole incident go on in front of him. And not only did Stenzel spin, but looks like James Robinson wrecked as well out of the corner. So, on board with that 13, everything going down right in front of him. And Jacob, if you get a chance to take a look at that, kind of had to tiptoe his way through it all. He's able to survive. His car does have pretty significant damage. He's been riding about that 20th spot all night long, hindering that damage on his Iron Patriot Ford. But a little bit of excitement for Michael Woolley there as he had to dodge and weave through that one.
Yeah, that gets my 5-star award tonight, and maybe even the save of the race, because I don't know how Michael Woolley managed to, like you said, tiptoe his way through that, Evan, but he did a masterful job working through what basically turned into a minefield right in front of him, and Michael Woolley survives. He is the last car on the lead lap right now, but, you know, he's still out there. He could still, he won't get into the chase because he needs a win, but he could still get a decent finish here tonight and at least not feel like all hope is lost, but we're talking now about the guys who need a win to make the chase, and really I think the last driver that has any chance right now to try and steal this is the driver sitting in third, the Muscle Milk Chevrolet, the number 14 tonight. Usually it's the 9, but Bobby Terrell, Evan, he's the only driver who can win and qualify that has been anywhere close to the lead tonight, and that 14, I don't know if he's got anything for Brundys, but he's the only one that's got a shot to steal this for sure.
I'll tell you, it's not a out-of-the-ballpark guesstimate to say the 92 and the 94 get together going for that lead, and guess who drives right by on third? That number 14. So Terrell's not going to give up. They call him Here Comes Bobby for a reason, and that's because he always shows up at the end of the race and puts his Muscle Milk Chevrolet in contention for that win. Still a fair amount of laps to go. I don't anticipate we're going to see a lot of green flag racing. When we do see it, it's going to be pretty intense because we're down. It's going to be a 20 lap to go restart.
Yeah, this is gonna get good. And you want to talk about or ask me if I think we've seen the last caution? No, we've not seen the last caution. I think we're just getting started. But you know, Bobby Terrell, he's an 18-time winner in RSR competition. That is tied for second most all time. Bobby Terrell knows how to get it done. That Muscle Milk Chevrolet has been in this position before. He's trying to make one last miracle happen to make the chase for the RSR Cup as the pace car, the iRacing Ford First Mustang, heads to pit road. Restart, and the restart of Bobby Terrell's life right there. He goes to the inside of the 92 of EJ O'Rourke and grabs that second position. Oh, a little bit of contact. Brett McBride runs the 92 up the racetrack.
O'Rourke doesn't have anything to gain by winning this race. He just needs to stay where he is to ensure that nothing crazy happens, and knocks, obviously he's subbing for Jason Lester. And this, the 2-car slides up once again at the stripe. That's the battle for third. Meanwhile, Brundys half a second away from Terrell. Now McBride through and clear for third. The one of Thomas J. George to the inside and on the side. Oh, nearly gets into the 92. E.J. O'Rourke is just trying to hang on in fourth.
Oh, we're going on board with the Navy Nuke. Eric Arnold right here. He's right behind this mess for fourth and fifth. Thomas J. George is there. He's in this mix trying to go for fourth around E.J. O'Rourke, who's barely hanging on. If O'Rourke goes into the wall, it could spell the end to Jason Lester's chase hopes right now. That 92 hoping to survive. Meanwhile, Eric Brundys has run away. It's 7 car lengths with 17 to go.
The 1 and the 31, Doug Roth sideways off the corner. I'll tell you this, Jacob, side by side is Thomas J. George and Eric Arnold. They've got into each other earlier in the race, and Thomas J. George is giving Eric Arnold a warning here as they run about 2 car lengths apart.
Battle is going to be for second behind the race lead. Rhett McBride has caught and latched on to the back bumper of the 14 of Bobby Terrell. That's the battle for the runner-up spot behind race leader Eric Brundys, who's pulled out to an 8/10 of a second lead. Coming to 15 laps to go. The Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion goes into turn number 3, and Bobby Terrell's around.
Into the inside wall goes Bobby Terrell after a self-spin off the corner that close to getting into the championship. He gave it everything he had, and he loses it at a corner number 2. Bobby Terrell around. Caution flag will fly. Eric Arnold also around via a self-spin at a corner number 2. As the replay goes up, we return to yellow flag condition, and the 2 drivers that were running up front that if they won would transfer, being Terrell and being Arnold, both of those 2 cars are the ones that go around.
I'll give Bobby Terrell a lot of credit. He gave it everything he had to try and get into this chase. I truly don't think he had anything for Eric Brundys, but He gave it a fine effort, and that 14 machine, yes, it goes around on a self-spin late, but nothing to be ashamed of out of that camp. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at it, and Bobby Terrell, that just shows you, I think, Evan, how badly he wanted this tonight. He pitched it in there. He literally was going for broke at this point.
The Ford of C.J. LeVere is talking. Dan Murray, again, entering tonight the last spot, locked into the championship right now. Having a little bit of discussion. C.J. LeVere not happy with him right now, and the 55 is sitting one position in front of the driver that sits 9 points behind him. So Linden is looking at the car that he needs to beat by 9 positions. Only issue is they're going to be side by side.
Yeah, and really quickly want to patch through on the radio. Bobby Terrell, driver of the Muscle Milk Chevrolet. Bobby, you gave it everything you had to try and get to the lead. We're running second. What happened?
Oh, I just lost it off of 2. It was all me.
Is that just a product tonight? We saw how hard you were racing. I know you knew you needed to win tonight. Was that just a product of you guys giving it everything you had tonight to try and get this win?
Yeah, I was just going for it. I mean, I knew I needed to win to try to get in the chase, and I just threw it away.
Second all-time on the wins list, Bobby. We saw you give it a valiant effort tonight. Nothing to be ashamed of. We appreciate you taking a few seconds to talk with us, and you still got 12 laps here tonight to finish out.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. I'm gonna give it a go. Hopefully, it was a good show.
It has been a good show. That's Bobby Terrell driving the number 14 Muscle Milk Chevrolet as we're going to get geared up here for another restart, Evan. This time, it is going to be Eric Brundys and Rhett McBride, the 2 championship contenders, 1 and 2 in the points, basically since the drop of the green flag at Daytona International Speedway, lining up on the front row for this restart. We have not seen a whole lot out of Rhett McBride because he's not been on the front row so far tonight. But he's been the only driver, even when he's been behind, that has been able to keep pace with Eric Brundys as far as lap times on the written sheets are concerned. I wouldn't put it past him to try something on this restart. Why not? We've seen everything else tonight.
This could also play into the hands of the 92 of O'Rourke. He's not been good on the outside of that second lane. He had about 2-3 times that he really nailed it. The 94 just cleared him down into the corner. He'll be starting behind Eric Brundys, which we've seen multiple times tonight. Jacob B, a better spot to restart in than that number 2 spot. So don't count E.J. O'Rourke out of this, but Rhett McBride's going to give it a go in that GT Omega Toyota.
Yeah, he is. The GT Omega Toyota, the Silver Deuce, as we call it right now. He's going to restart on the outside of his closest championship rival, and I think these two, this may be the picture we see at the end of 10 races. Oh, boy. We're about to see a show right now. Brundys, McBride, O'Rourke, George, Peterson, Roth. They're your front 6. Ford First Mustang pace car hits the pit road. Green flag in the air. Oh, and the 2 did not go. Rhett McBride falls back to second. Goes the 92 of E.J. O'Rourke. Brandon Peterson to third in turn 1.
And contact the 78 on the back bumper of O'Rourke off the corner, trying to get through as they battle down back straightaway. Brundys has a couple car lengths already in 3 and 4. The 2 of McBride is stranded up top.
He is very much stranded, and that would be called getting clotheslined right here. Doug Roth to the inside. That's the battle for P5 in turn number 1. The Meatball Mobile, Jose Gonzalez. He's looking to the inside. He's trying to take 6th away from that 2, and would you believe Adam Benefield's back in the top 10 tonight? That 85 machines. We've got 1 car sideways. C.J. LeVere saves it, I think.
The 7 is going to get involved in it. The 65 with some damage as well. 68 gets a piece of the action and back under yellow, which will set us up for what will be, I believe, the final late race restart on the season to determine it all. But that's that mid-pack portion. 1 car gets sideways, they stack up, and the 48 also went around, it looks like, behind that initial incident. Kevin Linden actually spun, trying to get on the brakes for that. Dan Murray gets into it with the 48 of Kevin Linden.
Hang on a minute. Run that by everybody one more time, Evan, because that's the two championship contenders right there. Linden trying to make the chase, Murray trying to defend his spot in the chase, and they both get into it.
And I don't think that is what brings out the yellow. But if it was, it looks like it was the 55 of Murray who slid up the hill trying to avoid that incident and ended up clipping the left rear of the 48 of Kevin Linden. If that is what brought out the caution, which I don't believe is the case because at that point the 4 of Lavere was already sideways, but if they determine that that's what brought out the yellow, which I don't anticipate to happen, that would look like it would be placed on the 55. The 48 needs to beat that 55 by at least 9 positions. Don't anticipate that to happen. Believe it's going to be given to the 4 of Lavere, as Dan Murray has stayed out. The 48 of Linden is in for service, but that could have been very, very close depending on which way that went.
Yeah, it could have been. Boy, there was so much going on. It's hard to pin it on somebody.
The officials' decisions, Jacob, and that's a close one.
Yeah, that's a really close one, and it's hard to pin that on anybody. But Evan, stay with me right here, because for all the times you and I have been in the booth together this season, we've seen this happen a couple times. But how appropriate that we're getting ready to say these 3 words for the final time in the regular season, because with that caution, you and I both know it's going to come down to a green-white checker.
And there's no official green, so we're not going to overtime, but these guys are going to get a green, a white, and either a checker or a wrecker. Do they even make it to the white flag, I think is the question.
Yeah, oh boy. I mean, basically this is it. Once we go to the green, once we go back green, we're going to have 2 laps on this restart to decide everything. The chase, the regular season finale winner, the points. This is it. And like you said, Evan, once we get the green flag here, because there's no overtime, the next flag ends the race. Checkers or wreckers, and I'll tell you, for some of these guys, I mean, look at this top 10 for the restart. Brundys and O'Rourke, yeah, we've seen them on the front row all night. But Brandon Peterson, where's he been in the Furniture Row Chevrolet? He's in 3rd. Thomas J. George up here. Doug Roth, Jose Gonzalez. Benefield's back in the top 10 after being involved in a couple of late race wrecks. Doug Roth, I mean, we talk about guys advancing with a win. Evan, you just said it to me right there. Doug Roth, he advances if he wins this race in the 43. He's not out of it.
He's fit. He's going to be counting on pulling a Jeff Gordon at Pocono. Maybe the top 4 will go into the fence. The 43 may be able to sneak on by. That's what he's hoping for. Lights are off on the pace car, getting set for 2 laps to determine the chase grid.
It all comes down to this. I couldn't have asked for any better, Evan. Before we go green, who do you like and why?
I think Brundys. If he can get to turn 1 and he's clear of it, he's good. It comes down to what the 92 of O'Rourke does. He's going to try to guess it. He's going to try to time it. It's either going to work out for him or he's going to stack up that entire outside line.
This is going to be the most important 2 laps of the entire RSR season right here. Ford first pace car is off. Green flag in the air. Brundys gets the start he needs. He'll take the lead over the 92 of E.J. O'Rourke. 5s to the bottom, down to turn 1 there. 3 wide. Doug Roth in the middle.
Doug Roth trying to hang on the 2 on the inside. Jose Gonzalez on the outside. Doug Roth, the big winner. Now the 1 of Thomas J. George for 3rd. He goes to the inside of the 78 of Brandon Peterson, through and clear, and off a corner number 4. White flag in the air for Eric Brundys.
Brundys in the Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion. Oh, we got 1 car around. Brandon Peterson is there's big trouble on the front straightaway, right past the start-finish line. That's going to decide the race. No caution just yet. Eric Brundys to turn number 3. 4th win of the season in dominant fashion. He's coming off the final corner. Checkered flag. Points leader Eric Brundys grabs the number 1 seed. He'll win at E.J. O'Rourke, locking Jason Lester into the chase as carnage down in turn number 1. The aftermath of that last lap wreck on the front straightaway, but Brundys, just like his Penske counterpart Brad Keselowski did on Saturday night, grabs his 4th win of the season in dominant fashion. He will be the #1 seed emphatically as the 92, driven by E.J. O'Rourke, but will be piloted by Jason Lester in the chase. The 92 holds on with a 2nd place finish, and Jason Lester will be the #15 seed for the chase for the RSR championship.
There were cars that had their wheels lifted up and the flag was out, and it's not up to RSR's discretion on if they leave that thing green or they end it under yellow. Once the white flag is out, they're racing it out. So it didn't matter if they got that thing cleared up by the time the leaders came back around. They had to race it around. Eric Brundys gets it. O'Rourke made a valiant effort. He went to the apron down into corner number 3, and he'll able to walk away with a P2 result from that. Again, you mentioned Doug Roth comes up 3 positions short from a chase berth. He needed a win. He'll come home in 4th.
Yeah, he will. It's been a long road this season. Doug Roth almost gets there. Not quite enough, though. And it looks like, unofficially, of course, Dan Murray fighting all the way back to 5th. And I believe with Kevin Linden finishing behind him and Nathan, some of the other guys out of this race, Bratcher, the guy I was thinking of actually, Bratcher and Linden finishing behind Murray, that should officially set the 16-driver grid with the final 2 spots going to Dan Murray in 16th seed and E.J. O'Rourke subbing for Jason Lester, who will be the #15 seed.
This race had everything that we wanted it to be, that we hyped it up to be, and by far one of the most exciting races of the season. And if you look at the chase grid entering and the chase grid leaving tonight, you're going to see no changes. And one person's going to think, that must have been just your average race. It was a fun race. Eric Brundys, although he was dominant, these guys made him work for it there at the end.
Yeah, they did. And we're going to go to commercial really quick. When we come back, we will hear from some of our top finishers, try to get a word with at least our top 3, and maybe see if we can't hear from a couple of the guys on that last lap theatrics, Doug Roth 4th, and maybe catch up with Brandon Peterson on pit road as well. But first, this business. You're watching LSRTV, and we'll be right back from Richmond International Raceway.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back, the Garry Mercer Trucking Post-Race Show here from Richmond International Raceway as we've just finished the Garry Mercer 160, the final race to make the RSR Championship here tonight. And we got a lot to talk about really quickly. Going to throw it right down to pit road to catch up with some of the aftermath of tonight's event. Evan Pasoko, I believe you have caught up down there with the guy who started the last lap theatrics, Brandon Peterson.
Yeah, we're down here on pit road with the driver of the number 78. When you look at the score sheet at the end of the night, P16 is not indicative of where he was. Brandon, come to 2 to go, and on that restart, you were knocking on the door for a second and just lost it coming out of corner number 4. It looked like you were giving it everything you had. Walk us through those final laps.
Yeah, I was trying to get a run on the EJ, and I tried to get underneath him, kind of overdrove it a little bit, so I got stuck behind him and pushed a little high, and Thomas got underneath me. So I let him go, and I was going to try to get another run, and for some reason, coming off the corner, it just came out from underneath me. And bad night, points for where I should have finished.
You entered tonight qualified for the chase for the championship after running a 12th place in the championship standing. So moving forward, it's game time. 10 races to go, 10 races to get the championship. What's your mindset out of tonight and as you get set moving forward into next week to get it kicked off at Chicago?
I'm just going to try to gather my stuff back together and focus on trying to get me a couple wins if possible. I haven't got a win yet this season, just been getting some decent finishes. I'd just like to thank my teammates here at RDSR for helping me this season, and I appreciate the job you guys do around here. It's definitely a good place to race.
Appreciate the kind words, and I want to congratulate you. I know you would have wanted that top 3 finish, but a solid effort for you and the 78 crew tonight, and we look forward to seeing if you guys can make some noise in that chase.
Thanks again. I appreciate it.
That is Brandon Peterson, and Jacob, you're down on pit road. It's Doug Roth who comes up just 3 positions shy of a chase berth. He finishes 4th.
Yeah, he needed to win, didn't quite get that, but Doug Roth, you still did just about everything in the book to try and get to that number 1 position. Just looked like you were outclassed there at the end, but was that everything you had?
Yeah, pretty much there, Jacob. I tried everything I could to win that race. Richmond's usually one of my better tracks. I'm pretty good at Richmond usually, and trying to fend off Rhett and Jose there at the end. I kind of let the top 3 cars there get out of the way, and then one guy was spinning there. I think it was Brandon. So I was able to come home 4th, but, at this point, 4th just doesn't cut it.
I know it doesn't. What does this change for you for the rest of the season? Obviously not in the chase for the championship, but not counting you out. You've been consistent all season. Maybe we see you get a win before the end of this?
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal at this point. It's a shame me and my crew couldn't get the job done to get into the chase. But yeah, I mean, we're going to take race by race from here on out to the end of the season and see if we can't get our first Full Throttle Cup victory here.
I know that's what you're looking for, Doug. Appreciate you taking the time. I know it's not what you wanted, but a 4th place finish, still a solid run here tonight at Richmond.
Yep, thanks a lot, Jacob. Appreciate it.
Going a little bit further up pit road, we'll catch up now with our 3rd and 2nd place finishers. Evan, you're down there. I believe first you've caught up with Thomas J. George, and I think E.J. O'Rourke floating down around there somewhere too.
We have caught up with Thomas J. George, who walks away with a 3rd place finish. Thomas entering tonight 3rd on the chase grid with 2 wins, trying to tie Brundy's up there to make it interesting going into the chase. You walk away with a 3rd place result, and again, well secured moving forward into the championship starting next week. Walk us through that finish. You were able to walk away with a 3rd place result. Did you have anything for Brundy's or O'Rourke, or were they just too fast?
I'd like to think we had something for him, but we never were in position from the very start, and it just I kind of needed it to get a maybe 10-lap run in. I was saving my stuff from the beginning of the runs, and I finally started figuring out how to drive the car. It just, but from the get-go when we got spun by the 31 there, and well, whether or not I gave him enough room or not, I wasn't happy about that, but we were put in a position where we had to work our way back up to the front, and by the time we got into those positions, and just there was too many restarts where we were starting on the outside, and we just, you saw I had to throw the block on Jose just to keep my position on one of the restarts at the end, and I think we did have something for him, but it was just too little, too late. Eric was still the class of the field by far, so it's a good win for him, and I guess be the Kevin Harvick of this race, just not good enough.
You mentioned both Erics there, and I was going to talk to you about the 31 of Eric Arnold. It's the driver rivalries that sell the tickets. We heard you and him over the radio a couple of times. What went down tonight?
Well, it just goes back to what happened at Kentucky, where he restarted in fourth gear, and I understand mistakes will happen, but I gave room at the beginning of the race for most drivers, and you still have to be aggressive to race here, but somebody would get loose, or they would, get a run. I would get a run on somebody, and yeah, I could take it 3 wide, but I'm not going to do that on, lap 20 or whichever one it was, especially with how tight these cars were. And, I got lucky a couple of times, I got lucky with that one, and I think it was lap 75 or something. I just broke loose off of 2 and managed to keep it out of the inside wall and keep it going. But that was just, I was just getting frustrated because, it's hard to say, but it's whatever. We finished third, and we take the momentum going into the chase, hopefully.
It's going to be your 10th top 5 on the season here in 22 races, so sitting just below the 50 percentile as far as walking away with top 5 finishes. Wins are going to be important in this new chase format, but obviously you're going to need solid runs to advance through the rounds to get a shot at that championship. You've been strong all season long. It's time to put it to work. Chicagoland next weekend to get it kicked off. How confident are you? Where's your mindset right now?
Well, if we're as strong as we have been all year, and we avoid all the mishaps, and we can put a good run together, we can maybe come out with a win there. It's never been a particular favorite of my track, or favorite track of mine, but considering it was the same deal with Michigan, we ran well there too, and a lot of these other mile-and-a-half tracks we've run well at, I don't expect anything less than at least a top 5 car, possibly. We got to make sure we make the right calls and keep it out of trouble, and hopefully get the car will be to our liking, and we can maybe pull out a win and secure our spot in the next round.
Real quick before we let you walk away, sponsors and shout outs. Who makes it happen? Who's made it work all season long?
Yep. Thanks, Snap-on. They're going to have to fix some of the suspension, I'm sure, after that early wreck, but that's okay. Bass Pro Shops for all your outdoor needs, activities, Energizer, batteries coming on board this week. Gotta have batteries always. AC Delco for providing the parts to our GM car or Chevy SS. And from getting anything else, State Farm for covering our asses on that one. And thank my teammate Anthony Fredericks for painting this car this week. And I don't want to say special, but I just want to take this time. I want to remind everyone the anniversary of September 11th is coming up. So when that does come up, just give a prayer to all the firefighters and police officers and all the special armed forces that we have overseas, what they're going through right now, and just be thankful that they protect us every single day from all the dangers in the world.
Again, congratulations on the top 3 finish, Thomas. You look forward into the chase. We look forward to seeing what you can do, and maybe we'll see your number 1 in P1 moving forward.
Yep, I hope so too. We're going to give it our hardest.
That is Thomas J. George. He'll walk away with a 3rd place result. Going to slide down pit road. EJ O'Rourke standing by. Subbing in tonight for the car that entered 15th in the championship standings that had a 19-point gap to Kevin Linden. You get the job done, EJ, as a substitute driver. You lock Jason Lester into the chase, and he'll be the 15th seed. But with that being said, running as a substitute driver, if you were to walk away in victory lane, he would get the points for it, but not the win. What was the balance going on in your head of risk versus reward, being so close, Brundy's being a little bit quicker? Did you ever think about getting a little bit aggressive there in those closing laps?
Well, I know as being a sub, obviously not running full time, so I didn't want to drive over my head and take out guys that were in for the point. So I knew Lester needed a decent run, so I was happy finishing second to Eric because him and I really battled up front all night with Adam Benefield. He was really quick too, so finished second, fine. I mean, I'm really happy with that, and can't be mad at that.
Eric Brundy's was the class of the field tonight. It's been one of the strongest cars all season long, not running full-time and coming into tonight's race. The 94, just a little tick quicker than you. Where was he beating you in the race? Where was that 94 just having that little bit of an upper edge on you?
Well, after I won the pole, kept restarting the lead, which obviously is an advantage, and then he would just reel me in, and then he'd just get around me after about 10 or 15 laps. I let him go, and I followed him behind him, see if I can learn some stuff. And I was overdriving my corner, and I was able to hang with him for the first maybe 30 laps of a run. Any more than that, he was just killing me. He was, as quick as me or faster. So, it was really fun racing with him. I always enjoy racing here with Real Sim Racing, and thanks you guys for LSRTV for broadcasting every week.
Who makes it happen for you, and who makes it happen for the 92 crew?
Well, of course, I got to thank Jason Lester for letting me sub for him tonight, the 92 Chevrolet. Of course, Garry Mercer Trucking, Inc. for being my personal sponsor for a long time. And like I said, Real Sim Racing for letting me have all this fun.
Well, congrats on a solid top 2 finish, and maybe we'll keep an eye to see if we see you pop up here in the future.
Thanks, Evan.
That is EJ O'Rourke. He comes home with second place, but Jacob, they've had time to prep the car, and Eric Brundy's is down in victory lane. No stranger to that place this season.
No, here we meet again, and the car looks almost spotless. The number 94 Shell Pennzoil Ford Fusion doing exactly what its Penske-designed counterpart did Saturday night. And Eric Brundy's, you roll to a dominant victory here at Richmond and establish yourself now, I think, as the favorite for the RSR Championship here. 4th win of the season. That is double what anybody else got in 2014, and you take a 6-point lead now unofficially into the chase opener next week at Chicagoland. But how dominant was this car tonight in Richmond?
Oh, it was good. It all started with qualifying, in third. That really got us ahead of the game a little bit, and we expected to run well here. We won the race in May. It's one of my favorite tracks, so it was good to get, another good run and to hang on at the end. I knew I just had to keep hitting the restarts. But, I hate to see the big point lead, go to 0 now or whatever it is, 6. But, it's the nature of the beast, and hopefully we'll carry this momentum into the chase.
How much confidence does this give you? You've been one of the only drivers that's been dominant basically on every different type of track that we run at this season. And we go to a 1.5 miles next week for Chicago race, or rather a style of track where you've been exceptionally strong all season long. What do you think the odds are of going back-to-back here and opening this chase with a win now?
Well, I don't know. I like Chicago a lot, but, there's so many good drivers here. And, the proof is, in the wins being so spread out. I think there's like 8 different guys with 2 wins. So it's just so competitive, and these guys are really good. And so you just never know from week to week. And, one week you might find yourself up at the front. The next week, you might pick the wrong strategy and just be lucky to get a top 10. So, we don't know. We definitely are confident going into Chicago. We just want to keep the car clean for this first segment, to advance to the top 12. But yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Real quickly, who makes it happen, Eric?
Oh, I just want to thank my teammates for sitting with me. I'd like to thank Pennzoil. I'd like to thank Amy for watching. She always watches me. But I also like to thank Main Performance PC for a great computer. This is my 2nd or 3rd race using my new system. It's really, really nice. Makes races a lot more enjoyable. And I'd like to thank you guys for a great broadcast. It's always really nice that you guys take time out of your nights to do this. So I really appreciate it. Thanks.
And we appreciate the time. That's Eric Brundy's 4th win of the season, 6th of his career with the RSR League. And Evan, as we get ready to wrap it up real quickly, throwing it back up to you, take us through the first 10 as we'll go through the full field rundown.
Yeah, the race comes to a close on very exciting terms after obviously a late race battle, but when it is all said and done, the victory is going to go to Eric Brundy's. He's able to walk away in the #1 position. E.J. O'Rourke able to walk home with a 2nd place result on the night.
Third, Thomas J. George. 4th, Doug Roth. 5th goes to Rhett McBride. 6th, Jose Gonzalez. Adam Benefiel, 7th. Him Street, 8th. Bobby Terrell, 9th. Dan Murray, 10th. And only 17 cars finishing on the lead lap. The rest of those lead lap cars, Scott Simley, Kevin Linden, Eric Arnold, Michael Woolley, Ed Williams Jr., Brandon Peterson rallying back to finish 16th, completing that last lap after the spin, and Sherry Ann Mills. Most of the rest of the cars out of this race. Only a couple finishing: Steve Gottschalk, C.J. LeVere, James Robinson. Nathan Little, 21st, was the last car running, and the rest of these drivers back on to 31st were out of this race, including Brennan Mercer, Garrett Atwell among them. But I tell you, the guy that I circle, Evan, 10th place, Dan Murray, the last driver to punch his ticket to the chase. That 55 team came back from the back twice, did what they need to do.
It could have easily gone downhill. He got cycled to the back. There were incidents in front of him. He was side by side, which was the furthest he was back all night long, with Kevin Linden, who was trying to get the job done on him, and he was able to, again, finish that off with a top 10 result, showing a lot of grit to be able to finish that one out and secure his spot moving forward.
Yes, he did. And with that, the 16 drivers for the chase field next Monday night at Chicagoland are set. And we'll be back right here on LSRTV at 9:30 p.m. Eastern 1 week from tonight to decide the opening round of the chase for the RSR Championship at Chicagoland Speedway. It's 10 races to go, 16 drivers, 1 champion. So, for Evan Pasoko, my broadcast partner, and our executive producer, Laura Lawson from Richmond International Raceway, this is Jacob Seelman for LSR TV. Keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we'll see you next time on the web. Good night, everybody.